At 9:15 this morning, male subject attempted to gain entry into the FBI field office in Cincinnati. He was armed. He was unsuccessful and he fled that area. The FBI then contacted us, let us know what had occurred and what type of vehicle he had left the scene in. Throughout the pursuit, it continued northbound on 71. The suspect vehicle did fire shots during that pursuit. Once the vehicle came to a stop, gunfire was exchanged between officers on scene and the suspect. At this time, no officers have been injured as a result of this. The scene is still active and there's still an active standoff situation occurring.
So that was still Thursday morning, or for West Coast, Thursday morning. After this particular, I was gonna call him a gentleman. This terrorist ran up on the FBI building in Cincinnati, had multiple weapons is what they described, and took them on this chase that officer was describing. That suspect though was killed in an eventual hours-long standoff with officers out there in Ohio. They did exchange gunfire, they said apparently during this chase once they did track him down in his white Crown Victoria. And immediately, of course, people were thinking, oh man, this looks like this is the materialization of all this talk. Here's some details. So since the search, threats of violence against the FBI from Trump supporters online have increased, and Republicans have intensified criticism of the agency. Senator Rick Scott likened the government to the Gestapo, and New York Young Republican Club called the arrest of those involved in the search. Crazy. It's We've heard all the talk from pundits and Fox News folks and everything like that. And then when this came to this point, I wasn't hearing a lot. It's weird how that works. So let's get to who this guy was. The suspect, identified by the officials as Ricky Schiffer, 42 years old, seemed to have appeared in a video posted on Facebook on January 5th, 2021. Showing him attending a pro-Trump rally at a Black Lives Matter plaza in Washington the night before the Capitol was stormed. In May, a Twitter user named Ricky Schiffer replied to a photograph of rioters scaling the walls at the Capitol on January 6th with a message that claimed he was present at the building and seemed to place the blame for the attack on people other than supporters of former President Trump. Also typical. I was there, is what the message said. We watched as your goons did that. Maybe you shouldn't have watched, I thought you were patriots. Anyways, in another Twitter post, the same user wrote about the far-right nationalist group, the Proud Boys. He says this: save ammunition, get in touch with the Proud Boys and learn how they did it in the Revolutionary War. Because submitting to tyranny while lawfully protesting was never the American way, is what his other message then read. There was another Twitter user, Chad Loader, I believe he's a reporter out there. He discovered some of these images from January 6th that seemed to look like this particular suspect, Mr. Schiffer. Here's some of those images. Strolling around the Capitol, as you can see, that's the scene there. Very comfortably. This next one also in the crowd of other Trumpers and their supporters with their flags, apparently not stopping all the Antifa and BLM folks that were actually attacking the Capitol, according to them. So also there's this last big kicker, Dan. And this is the part where I think they said this was posted on Truth Social. Some people were saying this was it. It's not confirmed specifically by me, but this guy who's posted this had the same name of Ricky Schiffer. And he said this a couple days before: people, this is it. I hope a call to arms comes from someone better qualified, but if not, this is your call to arms from me. Leave work tomorrow as soon as the gun shop, Army, Navy store, pawn shop opens. Get whatever you need to be ready for combat. We must not tolerate this one. They've been conditioning us to accept tyranny and think we can't do anything for 2 years. This time we must respond with force. If you know any protests or attacks, please post them here. Someone responded, are you proposing terrorism? He likes that question. He says it's a very important question, as a matter of fact. He said, no, I'm proposing war. I'm ready to kill the enemy, not mass shootings where leftists go, not lighting buses on fire with transsexuals in them, not finding people with leftist signs in their yards and beating them up. Violence is not all terrorism. Kill the FBI on sight and be ready to take down other active enemies of the people and those who tried to prevent you from doing it. So again, the guy apparently was allegedly spotted on January 6th. He said he was there. And then he's got messages before this attack and run up on the FBI, which he didn't penetrate the building and then had to run. And these accounts kind of add up, it seems, to the events that happened yesterday.
I countdown to the right wing saying he was an FBI plan or a CIA plan or something like that, because unfortunately, perhaps fortunately, perhaps unfortunately, depending on how dark of humor you have, these perpetrators leave such a paper trail, an online digital trail, that it appears to be very easy to tell where these motivations are coming from. What I fear, and unfortunately haven't made the step since Trump got elected in 2016. We haven't made the step towards what is actually motivating this terror. And so John Scott Railton on Twitter had some really important takeaways from analyzing a lot of these social media accounts that now dead suspect, or at least like what they allege to have. And basically things that he's constantly talking about: stolen election themes that constantly allies with January 6th, engagement with Don Trump Jr. and Marjorie Taylor Greene posts, talking about the Capitol needing everyone to fight tyranny, saying that rifles make men free, non-compliance with COVID-19 restrictions, and then essentially going on the Truth Social like you're having those posts saying people should be ready to kill the FBI on sight. Where are people getting this from, you might ask? Well, maybe you could look at a Stephen Crowder tweet from that night where he says, "Tomorrow is war, sleep well." Or you could see some Truth Social posts that Kieran Press Reynolds, the Business Insider, reported on that said, this was the first shot fired in the cold Civil War. This user had 50,000 followers on Truth Social. So all I'm trying to say is there's a Republican media apparatus that makes money hand over fist, thousands and thousands of dollars on marketing anger and hatred and fear. And they've done it knowing, oh, we can get some votes, we can get Trump supporters, we can get away with basically trying to steal an election and then accusing the other side to steal an election. Can we get away with violently overtoppling the government? It sounds hysterical, but we're actually here now. We have it in detail. So the next step is, are the right-wing pundits who spew this stuff every day, Stephen Crowder, for example, with a gun on his desk, with a holster all the time, even though he's one of the biggest weenies in political media.
Thank you.
When will these people actually have to start to realize, have to pare back their words, because it is going too far here and they are going to continue to spark political violence?
And you know what? We go with this assumption that that's not what they want, that they're just looking for this political expediency. They're looking to maybe or capitalize off of the energy, no matter how negative it is, which is plenty bad enough. But maybe it's just me, but it's always been this assumption that, yeah, they don't actually want the government to be overturned. They don't actually want these rabid, violent folks to run up on them. And that's when we saw things like Josh Hawley running out of the Capitol on January 6th. Like, they get to a point, but they don't really know what it's gonna be. But maybe we have to modify that assumption. It's probably a significant number of them that are okay with that. That are like, you know what, that specifically what we heard Donald Trump say, they're not coming from me. Yes, let the violence flow as long as they don't come from me. And that's what they're beginning to assume, apparently, because there's no way you can see this, see the way that this is going, and then not understand that you've been fueling it. Someone was backpedaling yesterday. Jesse Waters was backpedaling when someone was talking yesterday, and it was, and I think they're beginning to notice, but I think the lid has already been taken off.